I am loving seeing more people talk about keto and carnivore. What I'm a little bit concerned about is that there seems to be a belief that we need celebrities to endorse something. Otherwise, people aren't going to pay attention. So recently, Elon and Joe Rogan had a conversation. And I mean, they had a 2.5 hour conversation. I didn't watch the whole thing, so let me just say that right up front. But this little snippet of like maybe 3 minutes out of 2.5 hours, let me give it benefit of doubt, 5 minutes, gets pulled out and focused on because Elon said he eats steak and eggs for breakfast and it finds it gives him a little boost. And all of a sudden, people are talking as if Elon is doing keto or carnivore, well, carnivore basically. And honestly, I don't think from that little snippet we can make that assumption. I think that's a huge stretch. We don't know what he eats the rest of the day. And honestly, if he is carnivore, great for him. But I think the thing that's made me want to talk about this is that his endorsement of eating meat, first of all, he's saying like eat as much meat as you want, based on the fact that he doesn't believe it's going to have any impact on the environment whatsoever, warming and all this stuff. He's like, that means nothing. Eat as much meat as you want. And his statement that he gets a boost is definitely going to impact people. And I do like that. At the same time, he's not necessarily saying carnivore is healthy, carnivore. He's just saying it's not impacting the world. And I like it. We give so much more credit to celebrities, even celebrities that have a normal body look. So it's not like Elon. I mean, you look at Joe Rogan, okay, he's like a big buff dude, and him saying that he does carnivore occasionally is also interesting. What I do find though is that it's not like he's saying he does carnivore all the time, or at least the last time I heard him talk about it. Again, in this conversation, they were on it for just a few minutes, really quickly. I want us to see the bigger picture, that we need celebrities to talk about stuff so that we feel comfortable to do it, that we need the mainstream to accept something so that we feel comfortable to do it, even though we see for our good health it matters. Wellness warrior, we need to sometimes following the crowd is the wrong thing to do, and I need us to see that. So it's great that more people are talking about it, and celebrities endorsement does make that happen. Celebrities encourage people to do things that regular people like me can't. However, we need to understand that we are more like the regular people. And so I'll give you the example. Am I having steak and eggs for breakfast? No. When I have breakfast, I'm having bacon and eggs, not steak and eggs. Even if I want to do what Elon is doing, can I do it the way that Elon would do it? So, something to think about. The other thing, though, that got me really excited is they quickly just kind of mentioned, and I can't remember which one it was that mentioned it, the addictive part of food. And I think that talking about that also helps people to understand why we eat what we eat and that we're not in control. We want to think we're in control of what we're eating, but a lot of the time we aren't. As a matter of fact, when we grow up, we have no control. Adults put on our plate what we are going to eat. And then that stuff that the adult put on our plate ends up being the go-to typical for most of us. And I feel like we need to to understand the importance of that. Because if we don't understand the importance of that, then we're going to keep thinking that we control things that we don't. Because if it's my habit to put rice beside my meat and I just don't even think about it, I'm not controlling anything. I'm just on repeat doing the same thing that I think is working for me, but I haven't really challenged. So I do hope that more people take seriously carnivore and look at carnivore as a great way to manage cravings, for example, because obviously if you're eating carbs all the time, I'm getting a message, just want to verify here. Thank you. I appreciate that. Looking at the wrong camera. So carnivore is a great way to manage your cravings because the less sugar you eat, the less cravings that you're going to trigger. I don't know if there's another problem. Okay. So yeah, so I definitely feel like that's something that we can all focus on is just do carnivore, get yourself into a better space. The foods that fight sugar cravings. This is another story that came up. Well, it's a video that came on my feed. It's a minute and 44 seconds long. And in this one video, they say two things that are very frustrating. I'm going to tackle the soy idea a little bit later, but they were talking about soy protein versus whey protein and basically said, no difference. I'm going to tackle that later. And they start the video off with that, even though it's supposed to be about foods that fight sugar cravings. And they do tell us to avoid highly processed sugar added treats. So I'm definitely going to give them a thumbs up for that. This is Good Morning America. But then they go on to tell us that dried fruit is extremely good for us to have as a snack. Dried fruit. So in this image, what you're seeing, those orangey looking things are apricots. And then in the bowl, we have raisins alongside the trail mix. There's raisins. Dried fruit is extremely sweet, wellness warrior. And it's going to 100% increase your cravings. And I'm not just talking about people trying to do keto or carnivore. I'm talking about anybody. Any person who's eating dried fruit, their mouth is going to be reacting to the intensified sweetness that happens when you dry fruit. And that's going to make me have more cravings. It's not that I'm having fewer cravings, I'm just feeding my craving. So I need us to understand something. And this is where these kind of videos frustrate me. If I'm eating something that is sweet tasting to avoid sugar cravings, that doesn't match. So that's like saying, I don't want to have alcohol cravings, so let me just drink a little alcohol all the time. Like, and I think when I say it like that, it's obvious, but somehow we think that having a little bit of sweet is stopping us from having a sugar crave. No, it's just feeding your craving the same way that if I have a little drink, and then I have another little drink, I don't have to drink, 6 drinks at the end of the day. I just had a little bit over the course. Am I still damaging my body, whether I have a little bit here and a little bit there, or have it all at once? Yes, I'm still damaging my body. I think it's important for us to understand that these things matter. The other thing that I want to point out is that the yogurt, which is the white stuff is yogurt. If it's unless it's natural flavor, so nothing added, and most people don't buy plain yogurt because it doesn't taste good. So we buy the flavored version, and as soon as you flavor it, there's sugar in there. As soon as you flavor it, it's sweeter. So right away you have the problem from number one. And we have the same issue with the trail mix. Even though the nuts are I rather I'll say rather low in sugar for most people. It depends on how much you eat, whether or not those nuts, whether it's the almonds or the trail mix, how much are you eating will determine whether or not you end up triggering cravings. So, sugar cravings are not based on the sweetness factor, which is why I think a lot of us get into trouble. We don't understand that when we get that craving for sweet, end up in the kitchen and walk out with toast, we still fed our sugar craving. We think because we took toast, we did ourselves a favor. It's the carbohydrate count that matters. So even the nuts can put us at a carbohydrate count that is still pushing our sugar cravings. These kind of videos where they're only talking about fighting sugar cravings based on the sweet flavor and not helping people to understand that the reason that you are chasing that you can't even imagine not having sandwiches in a day. You can't even imagine not having rice. The reason that this happens to us is because we're not allowing ourselves to see that it's not only about the flavor of the thing, but it's also about the carb content of the thing. The final thing I'm going to say is that they tell you that you need chia seeds for fiber. And I believe they also lumped in like almost everything there except the yogurt they're going to say is going to also give you fiber. The only reason we need extra fiber is because we eat things that are fake food. And if we think about it from that perspective, then we will do a lot better. So that's the other thing I want us to pay attention to. Okay, which milk is the milk that we should be drinking? And this is a TED education, TED like a TED Ed video. So it's TED education. And I was a little bit disappointed with this video. I jumped in and I was wondering, hey, all the way back, I can't remember how many years ago was this, but it was at least I think 4 years ago. Were they already telling us to stay away from oat and almond and soy? I was excited to see that because then I could say, hey guys, they've known this for a while because it's a TEDx, right? No, they tell us that they're all just as healthy as each other. Frustrating. Now, what is unfortunately, Pat says, okay, I just want to jump this on because hi, Pat, how are you doing? And he says, milk, no option, none of the above. um, absolutely. So the thing that I want to point out here is that they do say that oat and almond milk need fortification. So that means you need to add stuff to it to make it healthy for us to have. They're low in protein, both of them. And they say almond milk is simply low in nutrients across the board, but somehow their conclusion is any one of them is equally healthy to have. And so if I look at what Pat just said, maybe it's because the reality is they're kind of pointing us towards we don't need none of them. I wish that's what they would have ended the video by saying, but it's not how they put it. They said they can all be a healthy part of your blah, blah, blah. The same story we always get. Here's my problem though. Soy milk, although it's kind of marketed to us as a complete protein and often equated like soy is equated as equivalent to animal protein. The problem that I have is that according to what I've learned from Dr. Berg, unless you're eating the fermented kind, you're going to have problems because unfermented soy causes all kind of problems in the body. Right? And this video was out way back when that other video came out. Soy contains, so going back to that first Good Morning America video that just came out like a few months ago, and this video about milk, why are they not looking at what we actually currently know about soy? Soy causes problems in our body. So it contains anti-nutrients. What does that mean? Those are enzymes that hinder protein absorption, right? They stop us. So even though we have all this protein in soy, we can't get to it. We can't use it. It blocks us from using the protein. Soy also contains phytic acid, which blocks mineral absorption like calcium. We know we need that. Magnesium, we know we need that. Iron, we need that. And especially, apparently, it blocks zinc, another thing that we need. Unfermented soy is in protein bars, diet shakes, fake meats, so all the fake phony meats, and vegetable oil is soy, right? It's in baby foods. So like there actually is soy formula. None of this is fermented. So just unfermented soy also in our body can mimic estrogen. And when it mimics estrogen in our body, it then takes up the receptors that estrogen should be occupying, and our body doesn't function correctly. So we end up with like real health issues. We're eating it to get deficiencies because we aren't getting the nutrients, so the proteins and the other micronutrients are being blocked, and then it's actually in our body pretending to be a hormone that both men and women have. By the way, guys, you have estrogen in your body and it helps regulate things. So this is not just a woman problem. Men have estrogen as well. So we apparently tolerate fermented soy better. So what's a fermented soy? Miso, natto, tempeh, tofu are the ones that I could name. I don't know if there's more. There probably are more. So we can tolerate fermented soy, but now we have that word that I can't stand. We can tolerate it, which means it doesn't mean it's doing nothing. It just means that we tolerate that better. Why are we using this protein source when we have animal products there? Oh, it's because eating animals apparently is going to harm our health. Do we see where eating soy is much more harmful? Because eating animal products does not mess with my hormones, it actually regulates them. Eating animal products does not mess with my ability to place the micronutrients in the right place. It actually helps it. We need to stop believing the silliness that says that we can't manage these that we're not going to be able to manage properly if we eat real food, meat, fish, poultry, eggs. That's somehow going to harm us. It's this stuff that we're doing that's harming us. So Dimon Graham says, I drink almond milk all the time. So the other issue, Dimon, that I want to point out to you that I don't think we think about is that they're almonds, which I didn't say it in the one before. I didn't think about it when he was talking about helping our cravings, those sweet cravings, sugar cravings. We're absolutely ignoring all the anti-nutrients in all plants. It's not just soy that has problems and anti-nutrients. Most plants have some form of anti-nutrient, some stronger than others, some weaker than others, but they all have some because all plants need a defense mechanism against the bugs and animals that would try to eat them. And so almonds are high in oxalate. That's another thing. And oxalates, though, you know what the bad thing is about oxalates that a lot of people don't know? When you grind oxalates, they become even more invasive. Like this, the more you break them down. So again, when you're gonna make almond milk, now you're grinding this stuff. It makes it more invasive. The smaller and smaller these oxalate shavings, and so it's just such a anyway. Pat says almond milk, careful your carb count. Almonds are high in oxalate. Thank you for pointing it out, which can impact some people. Okay. Thank you for adding to the conversation, Pat. Let's see here. This was something that I'd never heard of before in my life. I didn't know what melon belly was. So watching this video was quite an education for me. I like learning new things. And Lee found a very interesting topic. There's so much to say here. For everybody who might not know what melon belly is, it's a sharp stomach pain after eating watermelon or grapes. And by the way, all the videos that I have here are linked in the description for you to watch later if you want to get more details on what this was about. But Lee's video I thought was so interesting because watermelon and grapes are the two most common fruits that people get this from, this sharp pain in their stomach, but they also seem to get it from mangoes, bananas, or drinking white wine. And it seemed to be mostly vegetarians and vegans that were talking about this scenario, which then gets me on a whole other thing. But just to finish it off, so melon belly, you eat these these fruits, and then the pain is mostly, most people say in the stomach, but it can radiate up their back all the way up to the shoulders. They seem to say that this pain could last anywhere from 5 minutes to 25 minutes. So interestingly, that they don't seem to be considering this a medical condition. That's the part that caught my attention. And as a matter of fact, multiple people that were talking about it said that it was a small price to pay for good health. And that is confusing because, in my opinion, inflammation is not good health. And most people that are having radiating pains in their gut, but then the fact that it's going into their back, and that's talking about inflammation and spreading, it seems like inflammation. That sugar is so quickly getting into their system and causing them to react, to be in pain, to be, and what they're saying is it's a small price to pay for good health. I don't think that they understand what good health is. They're suffering. And they're suffering for a reason that's not about good health, by the way. They're suffering because they're trying to get that sugar high, right? Because a lot of people don't know that when you eat carbohydrates, it impacts the pathway in your brain, so the pleasure pathway in your brain, the same pathway that gets lit up when you drink, the same pathway that gets lit up when you do the lines in the bathroom stall, the same pathway that gets lit up when you're smoking. It's the same pathway, wellness warrior. And they were living through pain in their body to get that high. And they're saying it's for good health. No, it's not. It's not. You need to focus yourself on being healthy. We have this silly idea that we need to suffer for good health. And we have this hard time accepting that if you eat the right things, good health actually just feels like nothing. It feels normal. It feels if you eat the right stuff, your body just feels normal. If you talk to a little child and you ask them about how their body's doing, how are they feeling, like they don't know what you're talking about. It's weird. Us adults are weird because we're constantly like talking about feeling good or bad. And most kids that are fine just live life and feel fine. Because when your body is healthy, it just feels fine. We misunderstand the fact that I could sit in a car and drive this car that has poor handling and, the suspension is not good. And then I can get out of this car, and it could be brand new, by the way. It could be a brand new car that just not made as well. And I can get into this luxury car that is smooth as butter. You can't feel a bump on the road, the steering wheel. And we confuse that with this. That we think that we should feel, if you can feel your body and you're paying attention to feeling your body, chances are very good it's because you weren't feeling good before. But I could tell you now that I feel good again, the last thing I'm thinking about is, well, how my body feels until I feel something. When I feel something and it's like, whoa, what's going on? I'm feeling something again. When your body is functioning properly, you don't feel that. It just feels right. It just feels, and you live your life. Your focus is on doing stuff to live your life. Mr. Saladino made it into my feed. And I have to tell you, whenever I watch a video from him, well, I shouldn't say whenever. I've watched a few that made me go, "What are you talking about?" But usually, when he's talking about comparing things, he's spot on. And this was an interesting video. I just recently bought one of the salts with the X on it, and I'm just like so shocked. So let's just dive right in. There are heavy metals in sea salts, which I think we all kind of know. We've been talking about the pollution in our water for years, in our oceans for years, and our right. Like we've been complaining about this. If we're harvesting the salt from the sea, then clearly, if the sea is polluted, it should have been an obvious there could be heavy metals in our salt. The same way that if we were to go and mine salt from contaminated soil, there could be the same problem with the salt from the soil. Are they checking? Are they testing? Or are they just harvesting the stuff and selling it to us because they decide that the amount in there can't possibly be higher than what we're able to eat without ever checking? And apparently that's what they were doing, because Paul Saladino has some test results and there was problems. So, and this is something that I planned to talk about before I saw his this is something I planned to talk about because I saw his video, and I'm gonna probably make me talk about it more. But for right now, I just want to point some things out that he talked about that blew my mind. What kind of heavy metals are we talking about that there's in your salt that we shouldn't be having? Aluminum. I just recently found out how bad aluminum is for us. And the fact that aluminum foil is sold for cooking, and that most people don't know that aluminum foil is extremely toxic and will cover their meat with aluminum foil, and it leaches into your stuff. It does. As a matter of fact, if you want to know how badly aluminum can leach into your foods, if you can pick something that you could spare. I don't want you to ruin something that you care about, but if you could spare a piece of meat or a piece of like a fruit, that peel it and then put it in the fridge overnight. I was shocked that I had some meat wrapped in aluminum foil, and I don't know why this didn't click in my brain that if it could do that, it's probably getting into the food. But then at the same time, they sell this to cook with. So like sometimes even I don't see the writing on the wall until all the pieces of the puzzle are put together for me and say, "Hey, Violet, look at that." I had meat covered with aluminum foil. I had to throw all of that away because when I opened it the next day, the metal was on. Like I took on, and it was on it, and I was like, "That's weird." But it didn't click in my head. When you cook in the oven, the same thing is happening, but the fat is coming out. And so just like but the microscopic is still happening. So aluminum, I found out recently, is so toxic to us, extremely toxic to us. We shouldn't be getting any in our system. Okay, arsenic. Again, we all know that arsenic is toxic. Cadmium. And the one that scared me was lead. Now, the one he talked the most about was lead. He's like, the amount of lead you should get into your system is 0. I mean, all of these things. Okay, so lead can cause, I'm assuming all of these issues, but all of these metals, but lead specifically can cause developmental issues in children and cardiovascular problems in adults. But all of these heavy metals cause problems. Celtic sea salt was the worst. That was the one I had just bought. So months ago, I saw a video from another doctor talking about how great Celtic salt was. Actually, I should have looked at that video to show you, but anyways, I didn't. And I started taking it back in July. I started using it on my meat back in July. Now, I was still using Himalayan pink salt too, so I was using both. But I was just, yeah, every single day for the last few months. Anyways, to find this out, very frustrating. Redmond sea salt came in second as the second worst, followed by Baja Gold. He had a list of several, but he talked about 5. So honestly, they didn't test for everything. So they didn't test for microplastics and all kinds of other things. But it kind of made me pause and think about sea salt in general. Why do we think, with all the pollution in our water, that sea salt would be a good place to get salt? Say, like, to get the sea would be a good place to get salt. And I know we're doing it because it's there, because it's accessible, because we can make money from it. But we need to balance that with the damage that can happen. So why do we put salt on our food? And why do we need salt? Because we do need it. We put salt on our food because we need it. And we need it because every cell in our body needs salt to operate. Because every single cell in our body has the sodium potassium pumps. And not just one, like a bunch. They're all over the outer the cell membrane is littered with them. Why? It's how ions, so sodium, potassium ions, move back and forth. And those ions have important properties. They help to regulate the potassium sodium levels in the liquids, like around the cell and inside the cell, right? So, and that's super important because different cells use their ion charge differences. So for example, nerve cells, the signal with that. And of course, muscle cells and heart cells, like as a muscle, like that's the contraction, and right, that it's involved in that. So there's so many important things that are happening because we have these pumps. It's just, so we need it in our diet, and we need it to be clean. The salt that we're having should have the least possible contaminants so that our body can have the best possible outcome from eating the salt that we need to eat, right? We don't need a lot of it. I think he said we need like 8 milligrams, maybe, I think he said. So it's not like we need so much salt. It's not like we need that much salt, or was it 8 grams? I can't remember. Either milligrams or I can't remember. Look, watch the video, link below. But it's not that we need like tablespoons of it, is my point. But we need it. And salt also helps us to regulate our water retention, right? So like how we stay hydrated, because most of us in the normal typical world are using carbohydrates, because we eat carbohydrates, we are retaining so much more water than our body needs. And if we would focus our energy on salt and put the carbs down, our balance is better. But then we need to have the right amount, right? So, okay. What I would love for you guys to do for me is let me know which of these topics you found the most interesting, because I want to deep dive into the one that makes the most sense for us to talk more about. So you let me know in the chat, and also in the comment section. I would really love it if you let me know which one of these topics I should like focus my attention on. I'll just give them to you again. We have the salt issue, we have wheat belly, melon belly. Oh my goodness. Yeah, melon belly. We have the different kinds of milk that doesn't make a difference, sugar cravings, and of course, promoting celebrities to promote our way of life. Do we really need that? Is that something that has to be there? Hello, Durban Graham says, what do you think about teas, green tea, black tea, hibiscus tea? Are they fine? Um, I'm gonna answer this question, then jump back to the top. Okay, so I think that it's important for us to pay attention to how our body is reacting to whatever we intake. And I think the big problem that most of us have is that we don't we don't pay attention to the caffeine, how caffeine's impacting us. We didn't even know. I did not know to pay attention to the anti-nutrients that I would get from tea. I didn't know about that. And I feel like now that I know about it, it helps me to really look at this differently, because I drink water and I still drink coffee, although I'm trying to cut back on it. Hmm. Which is a whole other conversation. But I think that we need to be willing to look at the impact, because all these drinks that you're talking about, let me just see, hibiscus tea and green teas, that they are things that are there are things that are in there that it'd be good for us to know what it's doing in the body. The nice thing about coffee is it's been so researched that we have some idea. We don't have the full idea because they're not researching anti-nutrients, I'm guaranteed. They're not researching um like if it's blocking our ability to use certain minerals or whatever. So I doubt they've done that, and that would be a great research to be done. But I do feel that I would pick one if I was going to do that. I wouldn't be doing every single kind of tea. I probably would pick something and just try to, if I'm going to do something, do this one thing. And then that way I can take a look at how it's impacting me and judge for myself. Like the great thing about the fact that I put tea down, because I used to drink tea and coffee. And then of course in the tea, I had the green teas, I had all the tisanes, and I had like black teas as well, and I even had rooibos. Like I was ever expanding my tea, because hey, it's low in carbohydrate and a fun thing to drink, not realizing all the other things that are going to be coming in and causing is a big word, contributing to my poor health. So now that I know that, I'm kind of happy that I've cut back. That's my answer, and I hope that helps you. Let's go up here. See, unfortunately, don't make almond heavy cream. Haha. Let's see. Do you believe in intermittent fasting? If so, when would one break the fast? So, intermittent fasting, I'm gonna separate from fasting. So let's put them in two different categories, because I think that way it's more easy to look at. For me, when I say intermittent fasting, what I'm more thinking about is that you have some kind of fixed schedule that you're doing regularly. So let's say, for example, myself, technically you could call what I do, one meal a day, an intermittent fast. Like every day I go about 23-ish, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, 23-ish hours before I have a meal. Um, versus Other people do like a 16-8. Other people do every other day. So then they're fasting a full, so they'll fast a full 24. No, every other day. Sorry, every 2 days. So they'll fast a full 48, and then they eat a meal, and then they do 48. So there's lots of different ways that people do this. But if you're on a set schedule, and it pretty much looks like that every time, I consider that intermittent fasting, just because it makes it make more sense in my brain compared to normal fasting, which I also do, but it's like once in a X number of whenevers, and it could be yearly, I used to do it like, call it, every 6 months, where you are, and even when I would even say I was doing it when I was eating every day, one meal a day, and then every other weekend I would do a longer fast. When you do those kind of things, in my opinion, that's like, the longer fast is a fast. And so now here's the longer fast, where you drink only water, or 'cause let's say if you do drink coffee, you drink coffee, but there's nothing in it. There's no addeds, anything to it, because you want to have no energy coming in. And so there's no energy coming in at all. And you go for as long as you can go for. Like, so when do you break your fast? I encourage people to break the fast when you are hungry and you drink water. And like within a very short period of time, let's say like 10 minutes, the hunger is back. Because that's saying to you that your body has said it, that's enough of taking energy off of the body. Everybody's going to be different in how long that can last. So what I'm saying is, in the history of being me, I started my extended fast, regular, my fast. I was already at goal weight. So in the history of being me, I was never able to make 7 days. As soon as I get anywhere near 5 days, it's usually on the fifth day. So on that fifth day, I can't get to 6. Like, my body is like, nope, go get some food. More recently, I realized I can't even touch the fifth day anymore. So on the fourth day, my body is telling me. So when I drink my water or my coffee, whichever one it was, my body is saying, no, like 10-ish minutes later, I'm hungry again. Sometimes I don't even get to that point, because my brain starts giving me like signals, like I can't think straight, or I start to get a headache, or like so stuff is happening that's saying, go get food. And what's interesting to me is that, if, like, let's say I have a headache, as soon as I start eating, the headache is gone, which is, to me, the sign that, yeah, that was really about the food. If I were to have eaten the food and the headache would have stayed, then it wasn't about the food. It would have been just that I had a headache. And that happens to me also, even in this normal scenario. So, like, for example, if I'm this week, one of the days where I'm just doing one meal a day, and I'm like somewhere around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I start getting a headache. As a matter of fact, I don't even have to make one up. The other day, I woke up, and like about an hour after waking up, I had a headache. And I'm living my day, and I drank some water because I thought maybe I'm dehydrated. I drank some water. The headache was persisting. I made some bacon. I was fine. So, and I think I made the bacon about 2 hours later, because I was like, it's weird that this headache didn't go away. I drank so much water, and I made something to eat. And I made enough bacon. Like, I didn't just make a little bit. I didn't have like one piece of bacon. I made like a pile of bacon, and I ate it as a meal. And I was fine. But I didn't have anything defrosted, and the headache was really getting on my nerves by that point. That's why I went with bacon, because I always have bacon in the fridge that I could make a large portion. So breaking the fast, I encourage you to break it when your body gives you the signal that you're actually hungry. Whatever your signal is going to look like. For most people, it's a hunger signal that doesn't go away after you drink some more water. If you're unlucky like me and that the signal is going to be something else, just pay attention to it. So if you're feeling not well in your body, like queasy or anything, if you're feeling headachy or anything that kind of persists, then there's probably your body telling you time to eat something. I hope that makes sense. And I also want to make sure that people understand that, You might be aiming at a week, like what I was, but I never made it to my week. When my body told me to stop, I stopped. I didn't try to force my body to do something that it was telling me it didn't want to do. And I encourage you to do the same. If your body is telling you to stop, stop. You're going to have another opportunity, another point in time, because it's a healthy thing to do. You're going to do it at other points. Just stop. Give your body that break. And if you end up going past the week, so let's say the 7th day comes and you feel amazing and you're like, I'm not even hungry, then you go further. That's how people end up doing a month, right? Like if they have the energy and their body is able to tap it and use it and they are comfortable, there really isn't a reason to start eating again before your body asks you for food. A lot of times people set their date at a week and then they stop fasting because they want to eat, not because they were actually hungry. And going back to what Dr. Ekberg has taught us about fasting, when you've gotten to that 7-day, when you've gotten to day 3 and your body is at maximum rebuild, repair, correct things mode, and you're easily moving forward. If you get to day 7, just because it was your scheduled end day, why would you end if your body is easily moving forward and you know that much cleanup is happening? Like that much cleanup, that's impressive that much cleanup is happening. I feel sorry for people who are on medications where they need to take with food because they're missing out on the ability to actually just fast and let their body repair itself, because it does, because your body wants to be healthy. That is actually a thing. Your body works real hard to be as healthy as it possibly can be. Because why? Because that is the best state for it. If your body is super healthy, what that means is you get to heal. And then when you're healed and you're living your life, well, from the perspective of your body, we'll catch more animals and we'll be even healthier. But from a perspective of us knowing that we can just go to the fridge, we get to play more games with our kids or with our friends. We get to do activities and not be exhausted. We get to live life. And that is amazing. So Lynn is saying, first of all, hello, Lynn, is saying, skip Elon Musk. Noted. Pat is saying a deep dive into salts would be interesting. We use salts all the time. Got it. Thank you, Demon. Gradual Legend says, hello, Violet. Also, Pat, hi, how are you doing? I'm glad to have you here. Melisandra Missy says, I don't eat dried fruit because most of what I've got are dates and raisins. Raisins I like, but react badly to. Dates I don't. Sweets I make sugar-free or fermented like fruit butters. No issue. So one of the things I will just throw out there, Missy, for you to have, use it how you want. We think there's not an issue until the issue happens. That's my first thing I'm going to say, is because a lot of the stuff, even our overweightness, when we were 12 years old eating cookies, we didn't think that was going to create a problem down the road. But it does, because everything we eat stays in our body for it takes 20 years to rebuild the body. So I'm eating cookies at 12 that are still impacting me at 22 because it's only 10 years later. Right? And there might even still be impacting me at 27. That's only 15 years later, because it takes 20 years to rebuild a complete body. So, and by the way, in the interim, I ate more cookies. So the nut butters that you're having right now, we don't know the impact that they're going to have. Sorry, not the fruit butters that you're having right now. That's part one. Part two, though, things that we can see quicker. Sweet tasting anything, our brain does react to it. This is documented. Sweet tasting anything, that dopamine pathway in our brain, that pleasure pathway is lit up And yes, you're reacting. The fact that many people who are trying to do a keto carnivore lifestyle but still pull towards sweet, that's happening because we allow the sweet to still be there. And I can tell you from experience, and I can tell you from talking to people, when you actually stop interacting with the sweet, you stop chasing. And then that little bit of sweet that you do still have in, so because vegetables and nuts have sweetness to them that you can't taste right now because your mouth is so trained on sweet, that the sweet in nuts, the sweets in vegetables, you can't taste it. Actually, the funny thing, the sweet in coffee, it's crazy to me how much I can taste the sweet in non-sweetened coffee. And Pat and I went out for our anniversary. We were away and we went to this diner. And I had to verify that there was no sugar in the coffee because it was a great cup of coffee. She's nope, there's no sugar. It's just the beans and it was a normal bean. They told me what. So compared to like when you get a good tasting bean, like that's the thing. When you get a good tasting bean, there's flavor in there and there's sweetness to it. So when you hear coffee people talking about the natural sweetness, there is actually a natural sweetness, which is funny to me because I didn't used to taste it before. And I mean, I remember the first espresso shot that I pulled that got me to taste it. I was not even keto yet, but the shot was pulled so well, I tasted it. I was like, whoa, that tastes amazingly good. Well, bought the machine, was never able to replicate it myself at home, but I think I didn't have the same grinder. All of that to say, long winding road to say that yes, everything that's sweet that you put in your mouth does have an impact. And it's really important for us to understand what that impact is going to do to our mind, because then we are going to have, for example, we're going to react by wanting more of this stuff. And even if it's not a crazy reaction, like I'm going for the actual cookies, we don't necessarily need that crazy reaction because if we have enough of the fermented fruit butter, for example, could my carb count get to be enough that my brain is reacting? Or even worse, that my insulin resistance is reacting? That's worse. We don't want our body to be reacting. So it really is important for us to really just like understand that we want things to taste good, not necessarily wanting them to taste sweet. So I hope that makes sense. I also make my own yogurt or kefir. I flavor with protein powder. Oof, protein powder. So right away, processed food. I really encourage people not to invest in processed food. As we saw with the whole element thing, we don't know. They say there are no dodgy ingredients, and then there was something like so. Just I really encourage people. If you, I would much prefer you tell me that you flavor with real fruit. Okay, so real fruit and nuts, and okay is later. Don't use protein powders. Don't use extracts. Use real fruit. I would only encourage people to use processed things if you really can't get, like for example, what do you call those drops? The iodine drops. There's no other way to get it. Like that's the only way to get it. So we have no choice but to use a processed something. But protein powder, there's other ways to get flavoring into whatever it is that you're making. So I would really encourage you. You in that case, yeah, I would use the real fruit, but I would also encourage you when I was drinking kefir, because I used to make kefir as well. I stopped making it because I don't need it anymore. I don't need the diversion, is how I'll put it. I don't need the diversion. But when I was making kefir, I was drinking it plain. And it tastes good. That's the thing. Again, when you let yourself get used to it, then you taste the positive flavor, and it tasted good to me. And I drank it plain because it tasted good. When our mouth is not overrun with all these other flavors, the same thing with kombucha. Kombucha plain can actually taste good. Are you letting yourself get to the point where you just like the way it tastes? And if not, then is this just another sneaky way for you to have carbohydrates in your foods? Because I'm sure that protein powder has carbohydrates in it, because most of them do have carbohydrates in them. And have you checked? And have you checked like what that works out to be in your homemade stuff? So like, is it a small enough amount that it's negligible, or is it impacting you? All of these things matter. Ever since I started the carnivore diet, fasting has become incredibly natural for me. Yeah. Meat is so satiating that I simply don't feel hungry for extended periods. Yep. Um, if you wait until you're hungry again, I often go without food for days effortlessly. I believe this is one of the reasons I've been losing so much weight. And the best part is it feels effortless. I would agree with that, Senpai Ken. Thank you for joining. I would say that it becomes effortless because your body only asks for what it needs. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Your body has always only been asking for what it needs. We are the ones who decide to give our body what it's not asking for: cookies, ice cream, cake, foolishness. Your body always asks for what it needs because that only makes sense. It's trying to do something, whether it's trying to build something or repair something or any other kind of process, because our body does a bunch of processes, many of which I don't have knowledge about. Your body's constantly doing something, right? Building neural pathways for something you learned, whatever it is, your body's always doing so. And it's asking us for building blocks and clean energy. And the funny thing is, the clean energy and building blocks of fat come bundled together. And then we have the building blocks of amino acids, which your body will only use as energy if it is absolutely necessary. The same way that not any one of us would have fire logs sitting there and burn a couch. Your body doesn't have fat sitting there and burn protein. It doesn't do it. That's why it sends you out for sugar. So when we're in that story where we're overeating sugar and the fat is there, it's not going to burn protein. It's going to send you out for more sugar. Why would it burn the protein? The protein's necessary. The protein's doing stuff. The protein's important. Our body is too smart for that. So that effortless weight loss that you're living, I totally agree that it's happening because your body is able to tap into the onboard fat, use it appropriately. It's going to recycle any protein that it can, that's so damaged protein now, not the healthy stuff. And then when it needs more protein, it's going to ask you for some. This is great for us because, for example, we lose a bunch of weight. We've got all this loose skin hanging around, doing nothing, unnecessary. Your body reincorporates it. I've been saying this. Now, this is I'm going in April. I'm going to be, I believe, I want to say 7 years. If that math, 2018 till, 7 years. I've been 7 years doing this lifestyle. I've lost 80 pounds. Of course, I had some loose skin. When I used to do this, I used to bother me if I did this in a video because I'd see the little dangles, like, right? I was like, no, don't forget not to do it. I can do it now, right? I can lift my arms, both of them. Oh, you can't see there, both of them. Like that dangle's not there. My body reincorporated the skin, right? And no, there's still other places where there's dangle. I'm not going to show them to you, but the point is, your body will clean up. Your body wants to be healthy. Your body wants to recycle. Like, unlike us in our world, we don't seem to believe in recycling, but your body absolutely does. And so there's so many positive things that are going to happen just from eating food, meat, fish, poultry, eggs. When we eat food, meat, fish, poultry, eggs, and stop eating garbage, all the plant matter, protein powders are made from plant matter, vegetable oils are made from plant matter. Cookies, ice cream, no, not ice cream, but cookies, all the cereals are made from plant matter. When we eat the plant matter, we get in trouble. When we eat the plant matter, our body struggles. When we eat the plant matter, we're engaging that pathway that sends us chasing. Our body struggles even more. And our body keeps saying, hey, can you bring me some real food, meat, fish, poultry, eggs? And we don't bring it. So let's bring it. Let's bring it. That's what ketosis does. But I'm not really sure what you're referring to, but ketosis is a center stage player in a lot of what we're talking about. Regulating insulin is a center stage player in a lot of what we're talking about. Getting rid of inflammation, which when you do these two happens, a lot of what we're talking about. So there's so many things that we can do, but ketosis is a major player. C#. I bet any food, when looking closely at it, should be discarded. Don't take it over the top. Don't take what over the top. Be more specific, C#. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I think that for me, we need to look at what makes us react. So there are going to be a lot of people that are going to tell me, Violet, I drink tea. I drink all kinds of tea. I have no reaction. Great. And until your body has a reaction, you're going to keep moving on with that. That's one of the things that's so amazing about our body that I love, is that we get into a situation of better health and we feel good, and then we feel normal, right? And then and we're living life and then we'll start to feel bad again. And a lot of people will think, oh my gosh, keto doesn't work. Sorry, carnivore doesn't work. That's not what's happening. What's actually happening is when you get to this new healthy plateau, your body is saying, hey, now let's clean up the next thing. I say that with confidence because I see it in the mental health world as well. When people solve a problem, let's say they solve things at work, and now work is going super smooth. What happens? They see issues in relationships, whether it's their main relationship or it's with a friend. When your mind is no longer being pulled over here at work, you see it here. Or maybe you fix work, you fix the thing with your friend, and now you're noticing things with your kids. Our body is the same way. When you fix stuff, it's going to be like, great, finally you're cleaning up. Okay, this is the next room, right? Like why are we still drinking these teas and whatever? Like why is it still coming? And all of a sudden you start noticing that you're having reactions again, and you're looking, well, what the hell is left? And you might notice that, oh wow, whenever I have the Reboost tea, I'm reacting. I wasn't expecting that to happen, but here we go. We're not going to know unless you pay attention. And that's the goal of coming and being in these videos and listening to me talk, because I lived it and I'm sharing it with you so that you can just pay attention for it. You might go 7, 8 years before you notice anything, right? Some of these things, it took months for me to notice, but maybe you don't have the same level of metabolic damage that I had, or maybe you have more metabolic damage than I had. And regardless of where you are related to me, doesn't matter, except for it might change how long it takes before your body says next thing, right? Next thing, right? If you're here versus here, it's gonna impact how long before your body says, okay, let's clean up this next thing over here. Because as I've said a bunch of times, if my basement is full of boxes, I need to clean up the boxes if I'm going to ever notice that there's a leak that keeps coming across the bottom back edge of the basement that I can't see for all the boxes. So you clean up something, and then your body will show you the next thing. And the hope is that you clean up that next thing, so then your body can show you the next thing. And the hope, and you keep doing that until there's nothing else for your body to show you. Hope that makes sense. Avoiding processed food as it alters glycemic index and how we interpret taste. Oh, 100%. There's so much extra sugar in everything. I was so shocked when I learned that there is sugar in spaghetti sauce. I was shocked. And my dad told me that. And he was making the spaghetti sauce, and I saw him adding sugar. Again, well before I was keto. I was like, really? He's like, yeah. How do you think it balance out the acid and the And he's explaining it to me. My dad's a chef. He's explaining it to me and da da da. He's like, yeah. And I'm just like, wow, I never would have guessed that that's why when I make spaghetti sauce, it doesn't taste like your spaghetti sauce. I don't put sugar, or at least I wasn't. I started after he showed me that because I didn't know that that was the missing ingredient. It's like, whoa. And every spaghetti sauce that you buy in the grocery store has sugar, which they're going to tell you is to keep it shelf stable. Part of it's for taste. Matter of fact, everything that's in a grocery store has sugar in it to keep it shelf stable. Is part of the reason, one of the reasons. There, but that sugar is having an impact, right? Like, I really am excited for those of you who are further along in your keto journey. When you start to, and carnivore journeys, when you start to notice that something that didn't used to taste sweet to you, all of a sudden is consistently tasting sweet, you know that you reached another level. And that means that you could improve your health again by another level by acknowledging that if that tastes sweet to me, that also means that that the sugar content in there is impacting me, right? And because it's going to start making that cephalic thing, and right. And God, did that happen to me when cashews started tasting sweet to me? I was no longer able to have one serving. I would have a serving and I wanted another one. And if I wasn't paying attention to myself, I would have several, like several servings, uh, embarrassing amounts. And they had to get out of my diet. They had to leave. So these are important things for us to just allow ourselves to put our mind around, Wellness Warrior. Mike Jr., so happy to see you here. Haven't seen you in a while. Hello. Um, Violet, after my weight loss, I embarked on a fitness journey. I said no to the protein shakes and other supplements. Great. Meat is a source of protein. Absolutely. I was scared of taking carbs from those shakes. Oh my goodness. They are. They do have carbs in them, a lot of them. I don't think I've ever seen one that was just pure protein. I don't think I've ever seen one. But the other part of the story is it's processed. The other part of the story is, what am I losing in them turning it into a shake that I would have gained by eating it as meat? What are the health benefits to eating the pure meat? Does all of the so Georgia Eat said something really important. She said that when you eat animal protein, you are getting the correct balance of everything you need. It's all in there, in the right proportions, the right balance. It's in there. The protein, the minerals, the vitamins. So do we need to be messing with all this according to what the doctors are telling us? No, it's in there in the right proportions if you just eat the real thing. But we're so used to shortcuts. That's what it is about. It's about shortcuts. Oh, I want this fun thing, that fast fun thing. We're so used to just trying to give ourselves pleasure through eating rather than getting pleasure through living life that we make this mistake over and over and over. We end up eating processed garbage instead of eating real food that we have access to, which is the other part of this. We have access. There's no reason for us to be eating garbage. We have access to real meat. We have access to real fish. We have access to real poultry. And we have access to eggs. But yet somehow we're going for easy. It's not easier when you're sick, Wellness Warrior. Let me just tell you that right away. It's never easier when you're sick. Dana says, sorry, Ketosis comment was a comment about the comment before mine. Oh, no problem. The comment about the comment before mine. Oh, Senpai. Okay, great. Thanks for the clarification, Dana. So Missy says, I've got a solution for melon belly. Okay. Ferment the melons or grapes before eating them. Watermelon rind pickles and vinegar of fermented, then dried fruit are a thing. Heck, Asians make pickled plums. So I go back to why do we need to tolerate eating things that our body isn't asking for? That's my bigger concern. When your body asks you for food, it's looking for building blocks and energy. Our particular body, food, building blocks is animal protein. So I feel like we're so programmed to think that food is supposed to be fun. The solution to melon belly is to stop eating all those fruits. That's the solution. Yep. If they would stop eating watermelon and grapes and you know what? The funny thing to me is they wouldn't be getting melon belly if their focus was on vegetables, the lower sugar versions of all this stuff that they're chasing. I go back to why are they chasing them? They're chasing the fruit because of the dopamine hit they're getting. And everyone's ignoring that part of the story. Nobody talked about that. That they're eating fruit, they're getting that stimulation, which just keeps them eating it because, right? But it doesn't last, which is why they get into this problem of being over eating so much. It's hurting their stomach. It's horrible for them. And they're still doing it because that hit matters more than the fact that they're in pain. And most people just don't understand that. They actually think that they like it. I will say it till the day I fall down. You cannot say that you like something that you're addicted to. An alcoholic saying that they like bourbon? No. No. If you're addicted to it, you can't say you like it. It absolutely breaks the ability to say that. So I think that these people need to acknowledge that they're overeating sugar because of the dopamine hit they're getting and then try to solve that. And the solution is eat vegetables. If you're going to be vegetarian, vegan, eat vegetables. At least you're not going to get all that. Well, you know what? You're just going to get other toxins, but at least you're not going to have to deal with the sharp pain. But there's no reason to tolerate eating something that our body doesn't actually need. Going carnivore made me look the thinnest. I had to stop eating avocado too because they tend to bloat me. Total carnivore now. So I've unfortunately felt my thinnest just when I started keto, like when I got down. So I would say 6-7 months in, I was like thinner than I wanted to be. And that was uncomfortable. So I would say that it was actually keto for me that got me to my thinnest. I feel like carnivore has helped me to put muscle on. And I feel like it's interesting because it's not like I work out in the gym. I don't do that. I what do I do? Like I like doing activities. So I like, climbing, I like skateboarding, and it's not even that I get to do it often. So this is the part that blows my mind. But it's like that little bit of what I do get to do seems to be helping me to hold on to some muscle and to build some muscle when I do get to go. I think that for most people, the goal needs to stop being around thinness and we need to redefine healthy to equal having the right proportion of muscle, fat, and other things on our body. So like all the other things, the bones and the organs and the etc. Like if we have the right proportions, then so I'm saying ratio is really what I want to say. If we have the right ratio of muscle, fat, and then other stuff, then that's a healthy body, right? And I think that we shouldn't be excessively thin either because I mean, heaven forbid that one day there's a famine. If I can't go a month or two just drinking water, right? I'm going to be in trouble. So like if I get sick, let's even go for a famine. If I get sick and I'm hospitalized and heaven knows they're going to try to feed me that stuff that I'm not going to want to eat. So that now we're necessitating that I get to eat maybe once a day when Pat brings me something, but I'm trying to recover. Well, maybe that's going to work in my favor. My body will have a chance to heal. But like there are certain scenarios where having that little extra cushion, which is our body tries to keep us in that position, by the way, like the healthy state of our body, if we listen to our body, is not 0% body fat. There's fat on us for a reason. right? To make sure that in a hard time, we have energy to pull on so that we can chase that whatever we're going to try to catch to eat it and eat it. Missy says, on teas or coffee, I do not tolerate coffee. Okay. Green, black, or oolong teas. Oh, I forgot about oolongs at all. So we don't get along with coffee, green, black, or oolong. They all get you. So caffeine, I go with white tea. I've tried that before. Um, it's a very light kind of tea, if I remember correctly. Interesting. Um, coffee, I add, so caffeine, I'd go with white tea. Coffee, I add dandelion coffee to white tea. So there's such a thing as dandelion. I don't know what that is. I'm assuming it's some kind of not coffee. Water, herbal teas are the rest. So like I said, Missy, if this is working for you right now, great. That's perfect. But I'm just pointing out that just like with myself and my coffee drinking, I know it's something that I will need to deal with at some point. I know at some point my body's going to be like, okay, enough of this, and I will deal with it when that happens because our body wants to be healthy. I keep saying that, but it's reality. Our body wants to be healthy, and so at some point it's going to make it very obvious to me that coffee is an issue. If what I understand from the doctors is correct, because all the doctors say coffee is also an issue. Sally Norton made me understand that tea was a bigger issue than coffee. So that's why I made that switch in that direction. I let go of the tea and I kept the coffee because Sally made me understand tea is a bigger issue. Also, the nice thing about tea that I appreciate, because if you look at all this plant matter as medicinal, the nice thing about tea is if I ever experience oxalate dumping, I can drink some tea and help my body to kind of settle back down and then help myself to to clear those oxalates again. So I'm happy that coffee has much less oxalates than teas do. Patrick says melon belly, bear belly, bubble gut, more or less all the time. Oof, I feel like bear belly and bubble gut are not quite the same as melon belly in the sense that melon belly is active pain, whereas people have bear bellies all the time and they're not in any kind of pain, which is the part that's scary because a bear belly is when you have your internal organs that are surrounded by that visceral fat that's so dangerous for us. And bubble gut is the same thing. It's really it's bodybuilders that have that protruding gut there, and that's visceral fat. That's what they've figured out, and it's highly dangerous. I don't know how dangerous melon belly is to, like, I feel like it's more of a toxicity dangerous, where bear bellies and bubble guts are they're kind of what do you call that? Atrophy, not atrophy, what's the word? Like damage to the organ dangerous. I can't remember what the word is for that. But the organ is actually becoming damaged when you have it starts to be encased in fat. So this is the big reason why people need to pay a lot of attention to, first of all, the state of your midsection. When you touch your midsection, if it's visceral fat, it's soft, right? You'll be able to push down and reach to the muscle, and it's soft in between. When you have a distended belly and you press on it and it's hard, so it's stiff, it doesn't give. When you lay down and it doesn't fall, it stays up. That's visceral fat holding it up. That is actually biologically dangerous. We want to have no visceral fat. Subcutaneous fat is absolutely normal. Our body does that on purpose. It's having excessive amounts of it is not good, but having some of it is absolutely normal. And it's what your body calls on when it needs to fuel you. We need to know the difference between those two things. I think a lot of people don't. And that like and because we don't know that, there are a lot of people that allow this distended stomach, which is firm, to continue to increase in size, just thinking, oh, it's just gas, or oh, it's no, it isn't. Like, we need to be very careful. It is not gas. If you push on it and it doesn't move, if you lay down and it doesn't fall, that means that you have visceral fat there, and you should be paying more attention. As a matter of fact, you should be actively doing something to get rid of it. This is a cause of liver damage, of kidney damage, of pancreas, like all the vital organs that are in that area are being damaged. Very serious situation. All caused by too much ingestion of carbs. That's true. Melon belly, bear belly, and bubble gut are all caused by too much ingestion of carbs. So that part, yes, I agree. Corporations leading the food blind sugar addicts. It's a socially acceptable addiction, which the government are fine on allowing. Part of the problem that I really do see is that I think even people in the government are so addicted that the idea of it not being available scares them. I don't think that they could handle it. Honestly. Can you, like, I don't think that there's anybody who truly, I shouldn't say that. I don't think that the majority of the people in power who could change this truly understand how addicted they are. People like me talk about this, and we are seen as conspiracy theorists. We are seen as exaggerating. We are seen as over the top. And the fact that people try to do keto and struggle so much, then go back to eating normally, solidifies the idea to everybody else that it's just not doable. And then the people at the higher ends who might have also tried it, who might have also failed, who might also believe it's not doable, right? So if everybody believes it's not doable, if everybody believes that this way of eating is too much, then the guidelines never change. Even though for the first time in history, I can't remember who I learned this from, but I was reading a book. Apparently for the first, I want to say it was from Dr. Lufkin. The first time in history, our lifespans are not getting longer, they're getting shorter. We're already not reaching the age that people 100 years ago were reaching. And it's getting shorter because we're eating stupidity. Like real dumb stuff. That processed food, first of all, that we think processed food could be anywhere equivalent to whole food. So now I'm talking about animals and vegetation, that we think that processed food could be anywhere close to that blows my mind. But add to it that we think that plants could be anywhere near as healthy as animal protein blows my mind, and the fat that comes with it. We know. It's not even that we question. It's not even that we're not sure. All the evidence shows that we are where we are today because our brains grew. Because why? Because we ate protein with its accompanying fat. And yet somehow today we are allowing companies to convince us that processed food, processed meat, let me be more specific, has the equivalent ability to build a human body as real meat, fish, poultry, eggs. Something that is not animal protein at all can build a body that needs animal protein in the right proportions all the time. Blows my mind. But somehow they get away with it because we buy the product. They get away with it because we buy the product. That's what we need to pay attention to. If we don't buy these silly things, they won't get away with it. So we need to stop buying processed garbage. All of it. The protein shakes, the protein bars, the protein powders. Most of them are soy. But even the whey versions, if you're gonna have whey, let it come from actual milk or cheese or yogurt or something. If you're gonna have it, you might as well have it from the whole version of it, so that you're getting and not be pasteurized. So right away, that cuts down a lot of what we get at the store, right? It's so hard for us to understand that these small little things that don't seem big are creating such damage in our bodies. But they're damaging our bodies. They're damaging our bodies because our body is looking for something healthy and we're not giving it the healthy thing. Our body is looking for real meat, fish, poultry, eggs. It's looking for the real stuff, and we keep trying to give it processed stupidity. So we will continue to have this happen until there's more of us not buying the stuff than buying the stuff. Because that's when, at the government level, that would mean there's enough people up there who aren't eating the stuff to be able to put the legislation into action that it stops being sold altogether. To be able to realize that our health will benefit, and not just our health, by the way. The healthier we are, the better we think. So even our knowledge, our database, our knowledge base will continue to expand if we could think clearly. What we eat doesn't just impact our body; it impacts how we think. Our brain is part of this. It's all one system. So we need for this to be taken care of. Dana says K to about 2 years. Sorry, about 2 years on keto, on clean keto, and lost too much as well. Then I realized my idea of weight was skewed, but also those last 10 pounds likely aren't meant to be lost. Evolutionarily safety belt. So what I will say, and this is where I'm going to maybe disagree with you a bit, Dana, is that it's not the clean keto. So clean keto is always right. Let me just put it like that. But I feel like what we end up doing is a poor version of keto where we're eating low fat keto. Low fat keto is going to push us to lose too much weight. And that's part of what I understood is that I needed to add more fat to what I was eating, which I did. And it completely allowed me to get to a healthier weight that felt amazing, that looked the way that my eyes wanted to look. What's interesting to me, and I'm just going to point this out because I think it's important for me to say this, I felt I was too thin. I was still within my chart, the weight chart for what's a healthy weight for someone my height. And I will add that I was nowhere near the bottom of the weight chart. I'm still not anywhere near. Okay, hold on. So what I probably should add to that is that between 5 months into keto and about a year and a half or 2 years ago, I can't remember when we went on vacation, I lost another 5 pounds. So I lost 5 pounds on vacation. So take that piece of information. And then I could say that I lost that weight because I ate more. So what I'm going to say, why I'm saying this is to point out to you that I think part of the reason that people struggle to lose weight on keto is that they're still fighting their body. They're doing keto, but they're doing low fat, or they're doing keto, but they're not doing enough protein or fat. So if you don't have enough protein, you're still going to struggle. And so for me, my first, I would probably say 4 years of doing a keto lifestyle, I was eating like a serving of meat, especially considering that I was doing 1 meal a day. I was eating a serving of meat that was about, I would say, 2/3 of what I eat today. So, and I did that for 4 years, but I had veg on my plate. But the veg was like diminishing over time because I don't like vegetables. I don't know if I've said this today, but I've said it a billion times. So, and I don't like to cook. So the possibility of having less on my plate or having to make just it's always a good time for me. So that vacation actually opened my eyes to I could eat more. And well, first of all, I lost weight, but even the weight loss felt different, better to me by that point because that weight loss of 5 pounds, so just of 5 pounds, I didn't look sick. So I think that over time, again, your body shows you things, but then also you do things because I just happened to eat more. And by the way, when I say eat more, let me clarify. By the time I went on that vacation, I was not carnivore. So I went on that vacation expecting to be able to eat keto easily. And then when I got there and saw what the options were, that even the salads did not go along with anything, that I decided that I would only eat meat. And so that vacation and cheese, I ate meat and cheese. That's all I had in my keto. So my keto lifestyle, I had meat and cheese. I had eggs and bacon at breakfast, every single breakfast. And then I had some kind of meat for supper. I think on the entire trip, I had once a piece of broccoli. That was the extent of my vegetation. Now, I came home after eating 2 meals a day and like real meals at each time because I only eat meals. So if I'm eating, I'm going to eat. So I ate 2 meals a day for 6 days in a row. Came home and had lost 5 pounds. Now, I kind of initially blamed it on the fact that I was on vacation where it was hot, but I have not regained the 5 pounds. And as a matter of fact, my weight has trended slightly downward, but I'm still within that. I'm still above that weight that had me scared back at the very beginning. So like maybe by 2 pounds ish, I'm still above that weight. But with me eating copious amounts of food, and I have a video coming out soon. I think that I showed like some meat that I had on my plate. We went out for dinner and it was a similar scenario. I think I forgot to take a picture of that one though. But we went out to dinner, or we had dinner recently, and I took a little video because I wanted to show what we typically eat on a date night day two. So that was our date night day two. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I'm eating more meat than I've ever eaten. It's more energy coming in than I've ever allowed my body to do. And I'm that person that still puts fat in her coffee. I'm that person that like I'm frying everything and my weight is stable-ish. Like it's on a again, like if you consider that it's been over 2 years and I've only lost 3 pounds, I still think I still consider it stable-ish. And I'm eating to satiation every single time I eat. No, actually, I'm eating to slightly full every single time I eat because I'm doing carnivore now. But if you're doing keto, you would eat to satiation. It's important for us to know what works. It's important for us to know what doesn't work. It's important for us to know what causes our body to feel bad. It's important for us to know what helps our body to heal. These are important things. Why was I saying that before? I didn't finish my thought. Sorry. The reason I was saying that before is that I didn't put the weight back on by adding carbohydrates. That was why I was saying that. I didn't go from doing clean keto to dirty keto. I was doing clean keto. I kept doing clean keto. I added more fat. So that's actually when I started to really put butter in my coffee. And I've been doing it ever since. So I started that 5 months in, no, more than that, 7 months into doing keto. I started putting butter in my coffee because I didn't want to, actually I wanted to regain some weight. And then when I regained the weight, I kind of played with it to see like how much did I need to just stay where I was. And I thought I needed to decrease it to stay where I was. Fast forward to today, I'm probably putting more butter in my coffee than I did back then. And I typically either have some kind of pound-ish amount of meat with eggs or some kind of poundish amount of meat with bacon every single day for supper. And sometimes I will have the bacon and the eggs and the just slightly less than a pound of meat because the bacon takes up some. So like if my piece of meat is a little on the small side, I might cook some bacon and still have the eggs. Again, I feel, and actually it's funny, the other funny thing is that recently I bumped it up from a pound to like 500 grams. So I forgot about that. When did I do that? It's been at least 2 months, but I can't remember exactly what day it was that I decided to do that to see. So all of this to say, Wellness Warrior, that we need to allow ourselves to understand that clean versus dirty is a recipe for disaster. Dirty keto, lazy keto, all these little things that they tell you, it's a recipe for disaster. Please, 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 I'm begging you, don't do it. Because if you do it, you're going to be disappointed eventually. We think that the extras don't matter, but they do. Little Miss Tiny Cannon, thank you for joining. I'm happy to see you here. Is there anything else you can drink besides water? So that's an interesting question because my initial answer is to say you could drink whatever you want. Like that's just reality. I'm here to tell you what's healthiest to do. And then I know everybody's going to do whatever they want. So I'm going to start there. Now, if I wanted to drink orange juice, for example, well, how much orange juice could I actually drink to stay within a number that's going to then allow me to? So whenever we start doing that, we start to see where it becomes tricky. So that's the first thing I'm going to say. Now, most people that are doing keto carnivore are not going to drink orange juice. So now we look at things like coffee, tea, whatever. And now we have the new problem, which is whatever is in coffee or tea, so that plant, does have an impact on us. I'm saying that after saying to you a few minutes ago, I drink coffee. So best practice, you drink water. And I drink water. So I drink both. I drink coffee and I drink water. Best practice, though, is you drink water. Why? Less toxins. Less. You'll notice I said less. I didn't say none. Even our drinking water has toxins in it, right? All the pollution that we have out there, it's impossible that our drinking water has nothing in it. I filter my water. I carbonate my own water so I can filter so that my water can be the cleanest possible when I carbonate it. That's the extent I go to. I make my coffee with filtered water that I filter myself. That's the extent I go to try to make sure that I'm at least making the cleanest possible, right? I prioritize drinking my coffee from home over going out for coffee because I want my coffee to be the cleanest possible. Even though it takes me like a serious 20 some odd minutes to make a coffee, I'm willing to put in that effort. If I'm going to drink a coffee, I would rather do that. So why am I saying all this? Because we need to understand that every single thing we do has an impact on how we're going to feel, what our health is going to look like, not only today, but down the road. So is there anything else we can drink besides water? There's lots of things. Is there anything else I suggest you drink besides water? Not really. However, if we're going to look at a list of like least bad to worst, water is the best thing to drink. Carbonated water, I think, is a close second, especially if you make it yourself. And then we have, apparently, if I'm to believing Sally Norton, coffee, then teas with nothing in them. So just the stuff. And then you have coffee. Well, maybe coffee would be before tea if you put stuff in it, like cream or whatever. And then you have tea, and then you have tea with stuff in it, like cream and the whatevers. And then, yeah, everything. I'm trying to think what else up is after that. Is there anything else I can think of? I mean, that's a struggle for me to think of something past that list. All alcoholic beverages are just harmful. All high sugar beverages are just harmful. So can I think of anything else that's not high sugar? I can't think of anything else right now that's not high sugar. Because even milk is high sugar. So that's why I didn't say it. If anyone was wondering why I didn't say milk. Because you can make coffee and tea and have like less than 5 grams of carbs in that if you really wanted to. Could you, yeah, can you drink milk? I mean, how much milk would you get to drink before you get to 5 grams of carbs? I'm not sure. Maybe a quarter of a glass. If that's satisfying to you, a quarter of a glass of milk. So let me see. A glass of milk is 14. No, you could do more than that. You could do a third of a glass of milk. That wouldn't be satisfying to me. When I drink, I want like a big glass of water. Like I drink at least 600 mils at a time when I drink water. And usually I'm drinking like half of that in one shot, and then I'm like sipping through the rest. So I don't think I would find a third of a glass of milk satisfying because it's 14 grams of carbs in a glass of milk. I don't think I would find that satisfying. Dandelion blends or dandy blends is a caffeine coffee replacement. Often has chicory in it as well. It's nutty, tasty, and mildly diuretic. I can't have coffee due to my high brain pressure and diuresis. So, I mean, the only thing I don't know is like what's in chicory, what's like, I mean, dandelion, like, so what are the what anti-nutrients slash potential toxins are in those things that they're making? Again, it's, you see, a coffee bean is a coffee bean. When they start putting things together to create the flavor of coffee, which they're probably going to also have artificial flavors, and so I don't trust companies that much to say that I would. I just don't trust companies that much. So if it's working for you, Dana, then great. And I guess while it's working, it works. And if you see any problems, then you'll make adjustments. Too much fruits will still end up with a case of visceral fat. Thank you for adding that, Pat. I appreciate it. Little Miss Tiny Cannon says that's why my husband's stomach is. I'm not sure if you're saying it's distended or hurting, but either way, it's important for us to be healthy with to be careful with our abdominals area. It's really, really important. We have Mike Jr. By the way, you look great and healthy. Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate you. Always here with the compliments. I'm here for it. So thank you very much. No, I was 150 grams of fat a day, very clean keto. That's terrific. So, and again, it's like, it's just sticking with it and making sure that if you do add anything, it's more fat. I do have health issues, but I fell to maintenance in 10 months after losing 100 to 120 after losing 100. Okay. 120 grams of protein, 150 grams of fat. Absolutely terrible to do low fat keto. Yeah, nope, not good. I never went below 70 of fat a day while losing. A lot of people, I mean, I did some pretty good losing when I was eating a good amount of fat. Um, but I think people are afraid that they're not going to lose, and they just like cut their fat down. And because you cut your fat down, your body is not getting the energy that it needs. So now it's holding on. It's like, nope, I got to keep this fat. And then we don't lose. And we're thinking keto doesn't work. Travel Spanish with Claire. I have been doing intermittent fasting and it works well. Yeah. One thing that so intermittent fasting with keto or carnivore, totally think that's great to do. Absolutely. Intermittent fasting, but you're still eating carbohydrates. We need to be careful to understand that we would still be causing internal damage. So even though I would lose weight, I'm still damaging my internals. We could still end up with distended stomach eventually. Again, we look at those bubble gut bodybuilders. That's why that's happening, is that they're working out and they're using a lot of energy and their muscles are growing, but they're still having fat that's getting stored around the middle. I had to put butter in coffee or anything to stop from sliding weight, as 100 grams wasn't enough. Problem, I'm never ever hungry. As a disabled sick person, I have to supplement with whey or I never get enough. See, there's a part of me that just wonders if there if you're still are you still doing keto or have you switched to carnivore? Because if I'm disabled and so that now says to me that like what kind of disabled am I? Are there parts of me that are not getting the exercise and movement that I need? And so therefore my muscles are not using as much energy as I need. So that's the first question mark that comes to me. But then like the other question mark is like, could it be that I'm always hungry because I'm still letting in just enough carbohydrate to keep me chasing and keep me feeling hungry? So I just wonder sometimes about people that stick with keto, even though they start feeling that never ending hungriness again, because chances are very good at the very beginning of your keto story. But let me know. But I'm going to guess at the very beginning of your keto story, you didn't have that 24/7 hunger. It happened probably after you got down to goal weight. And so to me, like when I saw myself feeling hungry again and chasing and all that stuff is when I realized that 20 wasn't my number and I needed to come down. Um, so you might want to look at your number because maybe your number is just a little bit too high. Michaela Peterson needed to go all the way to 0 to start to heal all of her health things. So I didn't need to go to 0. I was doing amazing at 10 or less, but I knew that at 18, like if I got anywhere near 18, I was chasing, I was eating nuts again. It was like I got out of control. So it's important for us to know. That's why I haven't made it to pure carnivore due to the chewing. I have a fun case study, LOL, something to eat when not hungry. I never tell anyone to do that. I started around 2018 as well. Yeah, so if you're telling me that you're eating when you're not hungry, then that's also a problem. Because if I'm wondering about the possibility, Dana, that you have too much carbohydrate still in your diet. Little Miss Tiny Cannon, I've started trying to wean myself off of Cokes. I drink nonstop. Okay. So I've started drinking sparkling water. Thanks. Oh, I love my carbonated water, and especially because I really carbonate it. Um, yeah, weaning yourself off soda is hard. When I did it, like going from regular soda to diet soda wasn't hard for me. Um, I didn't know about all the aspartame foolishness at that time, so that switch wasn't hard. But then getting just to let go of the soda was hard. And switching to flavored water helped. Still has aspartame and all that stuff in it. So getting from flavored water to just my carbonated water, that was the next step. And now that we've done that, I feel I'm so much happier. I'm so much happier. Um, I can't actually. The funny thing is, the other day my daughter had a sparkling water that was peach flavored, like, but it's really strongly peach. And I took a sip and it was like, whoa, no, Kate, like I can't do that anymore. So that's the other positive thing that happens, right? Like you realize that you can't do it anymore. Like you need your I need my drinks to just like it, I need to taste a taste that's not killing me with sweetness. So thanks for sharing that, little Miss Tiny Cannon. So sour kombucha to ensure sugar is used up by bacteria yeast. Otherwise, it's tea. Yeah, yeah. I was definitely taking my kombucha right to the edge. Like it's like it was just as a neutral taste. The same thing with the kefir when I was doing it, and I definitely like I stopped doing it just because I don't need it and the work it is to keep making kombucha and kefir. For the fact that I don't need it, I'm good with water. I think the most important thing that I've learned on my journey of keto and and carnivore is that simple works. Everybody thinks that you need these complicated recipes, these complicated situations. Everything is simple works. If you're eating for health and you feel better, then go out and have fun with activities, with people. just do fun things, do amazing things, take up a new sport or take up a new hobby, entertain yourself because your body's working, right? Don't allow yourself to go back to the place where you're eating garbage again. Entertain yourself with a body that's working. No, no, I eat around 10 grams net. I never eat a lot of veg and never process. No, not many avos or I'm just pointing out to you, Dana, that maybe 10 is still too much. Like again, as we move forward in this process, and you said you've been doing this for since 2018, maybe your body is like, if you're still, oh, I'm hungry, 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 I would focus my attention on that meat and maybe go down to 5 and see how you feel. I think you're afraid of carnivore because you think you're going to be hungrier. But if you really engage carnivore, that was another thing that I found was so interesting. When I was doing, and part of what allowed me to do carnivore so easily, when I was doing um, carnivore days while I was still keto, but I had my carnivore days, it was amazing to me how on my carnivore days, which was not every day, it was once in a while, I would eat and the same amount of meat that I could eat when I was doing keto, I couldn't get through. And I had that happen with pork belly, especially that I would have pork belly with some vegetables, and I could finish that meal easily. And when you buy pork belly at Costco, they're all about the same size. So it wasn't like I had less on my plate. Like I mean, it happened more than once for me to look at it and go, wow, there's something happening here. When I ate just the pork belly, I couldn't finish it. And I'm not talking leaving back a little bit. I mean, like a quarter of it was left back. And that opened my eyes to, um, I can't remember which doctor was it. Maybe it was Dr. Eid that was talking about, but there's been lots of doctors talk about how when you eat carbohydrates, Dr. Bickman especially spoke about this, you can get more meat in. Carbohydrates allow you to eat more in general. So I'm giving you that piece of information, Dana, because maybe it's those carbs that are just keeping you hungry all the time. And that was the other piece of the puzzle. When I had my carnivore days, I made it to supper the next day so much easier. And sometimes would end up accidentally having like a fast, like so going till the next day just because I wasn't hungry. Like I would get to supper time and be like, oh, I'm not hungry. And then it was just like, am I just gonna cook something just to and I'm not that person. I don't like to cook. So I just would skip and eat the next day. It really opened my eyes to the fact that when you eat carbohydrates beside meat, you can eat more. So I want to share that because maybe it helps you in figuring this out. Yes, but I can't chew due to dislocations. Oh, that's what you were saying about your jaw. Oh, that's very difficult then. How would I manage that? You can't chew at all. Wow. The having the highest quality. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you're I but if you can't chew, how do you eat the veg? So I'm a little bit confused there, Dana, because I would probably just try to I can do a week or 1.5 weeks. Then the pain is so severe I can't eat for a week. I've wanted to do full CV for years, but my severe health limitations don't allow for more chewing. Okay. You know, that's a very interesting dilemma. I feel like that's something I'd have to think on because in my mind, I'm wondering like, so like you can chew sometimes, but then the pain is gets hard. And so, and but I still don't understand if I chew vegetables, how's that different? So that's the part maybe I'm not understanding. But maybe this is a conversation for us to have away from here. So if you want to give me if you want to have a chat with me, I'm interested to understand the scenario. This is very intriguing to me. So I encourage you to reach out. Um, I puree a lot. Meat sucks pureed. Okay, that's what I was gonna wonder about. But I mean, again, so here's okay. So maybe you just gave me the answer. When you puree your vegetables and you puree your meats, and you're saying, well, meats suck pureed, so basically they don't taste as good pureed as vegetables will taste pureed, I'm still letting my mouth be trained on vegetables. So here's a big picture idea for you to think about. And I don't know how long this would take. So I'm starting off by saying that. But because I truly do believe our bodies are always trying to repair, if I allow myself to somehow figure out how to puree this meat, and we have pate, so like we figured out how to make pate taste good. Um, if you could figure out how to let go, you're very funny. If you could figure out how to let go of the fact that veg tastes more fun when it's pureed, and really focus your attention on the meats that you're pureeing and getting the right amount of fat in there, and just like focusing really on eating those healthy meats. Two things I think that might happen is that because I'm not eating those veg anymore, or as much veg anymore, and I really just let myself focus in on what helps this to taste the best possible to me that I can, so that I eat it and I'm happy to eat it, then over time, it's just going to taste right. It's going to taste like food. Again, that whole thing of when we are good, it's just normal. It's not positive. It's not negative. It's just normal. It's neutral. It's what it is. And if you can get yourself there with the pureed meats, my new question is, how long does it take for my whatever is going on with your jaw to actually start healing? Because if I'm chewing because I like meat and I'm chewing to get it down, but then in that chewing, I'm hurting myself, versus chewing just enough. So obviously, I'm assuming that your doctors want you to chew at least a little bit to keep your muscles going, to keep the teeth going, to help like I would assume. This is me making assumptions here. But if that's reality, how many years would it take for this to actually at least heal to the point where I could chew soft meats without being in pain? And then I can work up my muscles and chew harder meats where I would not be in pain. Right? So can I give myself the time, space, energy, and the right building blocks? Those vegetables that you're having an easier time eating, what negative impact are they having internally? Because you are in this situation where there is very likely inflammation, and there is problems where if there are any anti-nutrients impacting the repair of your jaw area, that's not ideal. So that's kind of what's going through my head, and that's what's going through my head. And yeah, so you know what, my brain now is more focused on less less vegetation, more pureed meats, and like just letting my mouth get used to the pureed meats. And if I'm misunderstanding this in some way, you can yell at me. You can yell at me. You're willing to chat? Okay, because I feel like I need to understand this more, because I feel like there has to be an answer. Yvette Rodriguez, hello. I just want to make sure I do acknowledge you. I see you. Thank you for following me on YouTube. And I'm assuming you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Everybody who's watching, if you're not subscribed, subscribe. And you've done keto before, but not carnivore. My question is, are you eating clean and or organic meats? So I have a butcher shop that I go to, and so that's great that you can get fresh meat there. But I do also eat grocery store stuff. I prioritize just making sure that I eat meat all the time. And so meat, fish, poultry, So I'm not looking for organic meats because, well, honestly, again, going back to, do I trust companies? So not really, unfortunately. Um, so you can go to wellness squad, or actually, let me just do my banner here. If you want to go in there and register, and then we can have just reach out to me, say hello. Actually, I'll see when you register too, but like, I don't know if your name will be the same name that you're using on YouTube as over there. But just tell me that, hey, I'm Dana. We talked, and I'll look for you, Dana. So let's go to the squad, and everybody else who's here. If you're not in the squad, I'm actually making a Discord, and I'm going to be changing over from the squad to the Discord, because I'm on Discord much more than I'm in Mighty Networks, and so it's really easier for me to be in the squad more on a Discord. So I'm going to be doing that, but join over there. That way you'll have the opportunity to make the switch when the switch happens. Beverly Wilson, hello, new subscriber, trying keto for the first time 2 weeks in. Please do me a favor, and I'm supposed to be ending this, but I'm going to say this. Please do me a favor. Beverly, you're saying trying keto. Please, if you've started this journey, commit to keto. It's too often I see people, they try keto and then they have a cheat day because they're only trying keto, and then they get pulled back into that normal world, but they've allowed themselves to eat fat, and now we have high fat, high carbohydrate, and that's a recipe for disaster. So let's put our mind around, this is a new way of eating. It's a commitment. It gives you good health well into the future, and it means learning how to eat on plan every single day so that you get the health you want every single day. Talking to the wrong camera. You want to get the health you want every single day, Beverly. So I really want to encourage you. This is a forever thing. It's the reason I make these videos, by the way, is that I want people to know that I'm going on 7 years now. In April, it will be 7 years. And I'm still saying it was all worth it. I haven't had a cookie. I haven't had ice cream. I had all these things that I haven't had. They don't even cross my mind except for when I'm doing these videos, because I talk about not having them in my everyday. In my everyday, I don't think about this. I think about when I get hungry, I think about eating healthy food. And it's made the biggest difference in my life. And I know it can make the big difference in all of your life. Every single wellness warrior that's watching this, all 24 of you that is still here after 2 hours. Thank you so much, by the way. I appreciate you. You're still here after 2 hours. All of you have the opportunity to do what I did. I'm not special in any way. I just saw the answer and committed to it forever. And because I committed to it forever, this is the result. You'll notice I'm still making mistakes. I still have coffee. And for all the keto doctors, they'll tell you that's a mistake. Coffee is a mistake. I still have coffee. I'm still working on myself. Right? But can I just tell you that one thing, I feel like you just joined the squad, Dana. If that was you, thanks for coming on board. I heard my computer. That one thing changed everything. Right? That just being on target every single day. So thank you for being here for 2 hours. You guys are awesome. I love wellness, every wellness warrior. I love talking to you guys because, first of all, it keeps me on track. But second of all, I just love to make sure that you guys are getting what you need. So join the squad. I'm going to make that Discord because I really do want to be more active. I have some plans for some fun things that I want to do that will not be on YouTube because YouTube is not nice about those things. Lynn Scott says nothing changes because nothing changes. And something changes when you change something. So that's the point that we need to make. Something changes when you change something. And then other things will change when you change more things. And if you want change, we are the ones that make it happen. Thank you, Lynn, for getting me to continue that line of thought. Yvette, thank you for responding. And yes, I agree with getting meats from local butcher shops. When I've done that, I find that the meats are so good and tasty. Absolutely. Wellness warriors, thanks for joining me. I hope this video has allowed each and every one of you to see that this is doable. Talk to you next Monday, 11:20. Bringing you new topics, and hopefully bring your questions. I definitely want to have some more conversations with you. Bye. Talk to you next week.